but we're going to highlight Teoscar Hernandez here because they have an interesting decision to make, which is, do they keep Teoscar around? And if they do, does that inspire him to potentially re-sign here next winter?
Should they keep him around? Yes, because I still think this team could potentially make a run. So trading away one of your 3 starting outfielders seems like a poor decision-making on that part. Second of all, I was trying to think about this. Can you name a player who was traded away at the deadline, hit free agency, and then returned to the team that traded him? I can think of one. Aroldis Chapman. In 2016, he went from the Yankees to the Cubs, hit free agency. The brilliance of Brian Cashman, this was one of his better moves, gets Gleyber Torres back from the Cubs and then gets Chapman to sign back in the offseason. So he gets both Chapman under a long-term contract and Gleyber Torres on that 2017 Yankees team, which turned out to be pretty good and led to a pretty good 3-year stretch of Yankee baseball. But that's kind of what I thought about, and I don't know if I can think of anyone else who got traded away at the deadline and then re-signed with that same team in the offseason. It doesn't happen very often.
And it's because what the message sends to the player is, well, maybe you don't believe in me. So it's not going to motivate them to go sign with the team that just traded them away. Even as much as Teoscar's been accoladed and kind of brought into this clubhouse and has gelled right with the entire team since the day he got here, which is awesome. The club trades him away. He's not going to be motivated. Along with the fact that, say they decide to trade him, are they really getting a return package that's going to help anytime in the near future? I don't think whatever they're getting back for Teoscar Hernandez is moving the needle.
Not only is it a rental, but his stock is as low as possible. So you just kind of, you look at that and you're probably not getting all that much back. And then you can think of it in the future sense of, well, who's then playing right field next year? I have a list of free agent outfielders, Lyle. Are you jumping up and down for any of Jock Peterson, Michael Conforto, potentially player option, Charlie Blackmon, Cody Bellinger, mutual option, probably too expensive, Mark Canha, Michael Brantley, Hunter Renfroe, Joey Gallo, Randy Grichuk, Kike Hernandez potentially, or Kevin Kiermaier? Like, no.
If you're going to throw JD Martinez or Jorge Soler into the mix, I would say they are not outfielders. They're DHs. Because here's where the outfield stands next year once the offseason begins. Julio and Kelenic are penciled in. You've got 2 outfielders. There is a gaping hole once Teoscar hits free agency at that 3rd spot. Now, you could say Cade Marlowe. You could say Taylor Trammell. I like both of those guys. I think they're probably more 4th outfielders. You could say Jonathan Clase. I would say for a team that is in a contention window, to throw that on a rookie that still has some developing to do, clearly in Double-A by looking at his numbers, is not a smart business decision. So that leaves a spot that you have to go sign. And from everybody you just named, no, I don't think any of those guys are an upgrade over Teoscar Hernandez. I would rather just get Teo back because, okay, I don't know if his value's at an all-time low, especially since he's started to hit a little bit better recently. It's not as low as it was in April and May, but it's also not the level that it was in Toronto where you're getting that much of a haul back. I also believe that he's going to turn it around next year, even more so to what he's done since June and on, because that's more the Teoscar Hernandez that's established himself as one of the really good power hitters in this league.
If you don't want Teoscar Hernandez on this team next year, then I would understand your reasoning for wanting to trade him. I know there's a big contingent of Mariner fans who are okay letting him walk, and I understand that. His offensive profile, not necessarily one that ages great. A lot of power, not a whole lot of plate discipline, and it's kind of a one-trick pony at the plate with the discipline numbers and the swing decisions and making contact in the zone and all these other things. And I understand that, but as of right now, I think the best option for the Mariners in the outfield next year is having Teoscar Hernandez out there. So in that retrospect, I think it benefits both the team this year and the team next year to keep him on the roster through the deadline.
There's just nobody in that outfield group that really stands out and says this is an upgrade. The one guy you can talk about, and I thought we'd dive in just a little bit here, is Cody Bellinger, who's having a really good year. He's about to hit free agency. He took that 1-year deal and gambled on himself with the Cubs. He's about to get big money. Now, I don't know who it's going to be from. He's going to get a big contract because of this year. And personally, I do not want it to be from the Mariners because there has just been too much inconsistency throughout his career where I look at him and say, I am comfortable giving him a lot of money to make a consistent impact on this team. No, I'd rather just let him go somewhere else and bring Teoscar back.
Would you rather pay Teoscar 5 for 90 or Cody? What kind of contract is he going to get? 5 for 120, 130?
I don't think Teoscar's getting 5 for 90 at this point. I think his deal would be similar to what Mitch Haniger gets, except Teoscar's on the field more and probably plays a little bit better defense. I think you'll see Teoscar get a contract somewhere along the lines of 3 years from $45 to $50 million. And if that's the case, yeah, I'm bringing him back if I'm the Mariners. I think that's reasonable.
Mm-hmm. I think Cody's like net value is probably somewhere like a little bit like take 15% off what he's doing right now. And that's probably where Cody's at. But the thing Cody does well, he plays unbelievable defense. He is a supreme defender. He's better in the outfield than Teoscar. We've seen Teoscar have his fair share of gaffes in right field this season, despite it being an overall net positive in the outfield. And the upside is just frankly higher. The dude has an MVP. Like, we're not going to take that away from him. He did win National League MVP in 2019. He does have that upside in him. And that's why I think, especially if you miss out on that big two-way guy, a big splash like Cody Bellinger wouldn't be a terrible decision if you firmly believe that Teoscar Hernandez will not age well and you would rather try something else.
I just can't get over the 80 OPS plus that he put up just a season ago, along with the 44 OPS plus and 165 average, 542 OPS that he put up in 2021. I know he's turned it around this year, and I know he has an MVP in his back pocket, but I cannot ignore what happened the 2 seasons prior. That, to me, is just too much inconsistency and downward play to hand a guy $20 million, where for the most part, what you'll get from Teoscar Hernandez. And in the next 3 years, I don't think he's just going to fall off if that's the deal he gets. So if I'm the Mariners, I am not trading him. And personally, I feel a little bit safer with bringing back Teo than gambling on Bellinger.
I do think, again, like a nice happy medium of Cody Bellinger in between what he's doing this year and what he did, let's say, because the numbers he put up the 2 previous years are astronomically low. So I would bring it up a little bit. So somewhere halfway between the low numbers that's brought up a little bit and the numbers he's doing right now, which again is good. It's not his MVP level, but there is definitely some value in Cody Bellinger. And I think the market is going to agree with that decision. And that's why there's going to be some bidding on him. And frankly, that's probably the reason alone why the Mariners wouldn't get Cody Bellinger. Because convincing him to come here would be difficult. And unfortunately, the Mariners don't really get in a bidding war for players, and that's been pretty eminent the last couple of off seasons that they just will not do that. And whether it works or whether it doesn't, that's to everyone's belief.
I think you might also be lowballing what his contract could be, because when you look at this class of outfielders, he's going to be the best one, and his services will be in high demand. So in that sense, when you combine that between the fact he's having an unbelievable year this year, OPS over 900, OPS plus is 141, so he's 41% better than league average, plays good defense, or very good defense, and is only going to be in his age 28 season next year, you could be looking closer to 6 for 120 to 130 rather than the 5 for close to 100 that you were talking about. I think that price could be jumped up for Bellinger in the offseason. And that's why if it's that versus 3 for 45 for Teoscar, roughly, I think I'm siding with the idea of bringing Teo back. And then, as we all know, this is a conversation itself, but spend $1 billion on that two-way guy.
It's interesting. I think this is a conversation we should pocket for the offseason, because I'm sure we'll have some time we need to fill. And I think this is a very, very valid discussion when it comes to filling that outfield hole next season, because as it stands, Teoscar, no matter what, will be a free agent in the offseason.